video, what I'm going to be talking about is this is a YouTuber called David Bowe. Now, I think I've talked about him before, but I'm going to talk about him again because from what I've seen, he's actually got worse, which is very disappointing. And I thought, after him and Liam, they asked me to do a video call with them. Well, I mean, even then, I really didn't trust them too much. But I don't know what's happened to this David guy. I mean, look, worst of all is him claiming that he's a Christian, which actually makes it much more embarrassing because in every YouTube video that I've seen, it's always full of cursing, every single video. And, you can watch it yourself. I mean, you should trust me, but if you go and look at the videos, you'll see for yourself. It's littered with curse words all through the videos. And what's even worse is that, in some videos, he's telling people, oh, well, look, God bless you and this. Now, that's blasphemy because why are you talking about God yourself when you can't maintain these standards that you're meant to be following in the Bible, Mr. David? And it just gotten to a point where I'm just literally sick of it now. I can't even go through one video of his without, all this profanity in it. And it's absolutely a joke, for someone that, calls themselves a Christian. But we all know deep down that, he's lying to his audience and to himself, really. I mean, there's no way that someone that will do that can even. I mean, look, you're not even lukewarm, and even lukewarm Christians, they genuinely do have some standards. I mean, yes, they will make mistakes here and there, but look, even a lukewarm Christian ain't gonna start, you know, dropping the F bomb in YouTube videos like 50 times or so. That's not what a lukewarm Christian would do. Maybe one or two S words, if that, but yes, that would genuinely qualify as a lukewarm Christian. Maybe very, very rare, like Dizzy, maybe one or two F words in, maybe out of 50 videos or so. Okay, well then, we can say this person may be, a lukewarm Christian, but, you know, when it goes beyond a certain limit, then it goes into like, this person really is just embarrassing himself more and more, embarrassing the religion and the teachings. And, it comes to the point where should you really even call yourself a Christian? Well, no. You can call it, say, a fake Christian would be the most appropriate thing. But in this case, even, you have so many levels. I mean, there's like a little fake Christian, and there's like, proper a big fake Christian, and then there's like totally, there's goblin levels of fake, and then there's like, are you really more Satanist follower, total degenerate? And I think that's the sort of level where he's reached, the degenerate, the sort of bottom of the pit level Christian or fake, so called, but that's like, the worst of the worst. It's just like Balin Levine, basically. That sort of level of, utter, you know, degeneracy and total goblin behavior. So, I'm not going to really waste too much time, but I think it's about time that, he's exposed again because, this just isn't right. And to think that, him and Liam were going to do a live stream with me, at that time, and they had the nerve to ask me to try, to arrange a live stream. Well, there's no chance I'm going to take that risk, you know, especially now, from what I've seen, no chance in a million years this guy's going to go live with me. And I hope, the actual genuine followers of Christianity can see this and call him out too, because I would also like to do a collab with someone who can, obviously, agree with what I'm saying, but also look at it from a Christian's perspective themselves, if they're actually following the Bible, and also call him out. Because there was this video of, I think it was Stephen Curry, and I was very happy to hear that he was called out by another, genuine Christian, and it was posted on Instagram, and I left a comment there, and I praised him, for being bold, and, for calling out, another so-called Christian for cursing on the basketball, and also his own mum called him out, which was very good. But, I'm glad there's some awareness that, people don't think, oh, well, I'm going to trick the whole world, I'm going to, on live TV, I'm going to call myself a Christian and then, act in a very unchristian way, which, I mean, also there's evidence because, the curse words were heard on the basketball team. So it's not like, is this just a theory? Can it be proved? Well, in this case, it has been proved. I mean, that's why I always look to see for evidence first before, exposing, just in case it's hearsay. Because you can get some people that, falsely accuse other people too, whether that's intentional or not. But, with the amount of evidence, it's clear that Stephen Covey himself, does not live by Christian standards. But, I mean, compared to this guy, he's nowhere near as bad. It's all relative, I suppose. But, people like Mr. Dave Bowe and others, even Liam. But Liam, I don't know what he's doing now, but he shouldn't really, be teaching on this when he clearly can't follow the own Bible. And even the other guy, Mr. Ryan Anderson, who shockingly claimed about 2 months ago that he fell back into cussing. Well, I mean, look, I've lost respect for him for that. And I keep telling him, on the comments, well, look, if you're going to teach, then you have to have standards, otherwise you'll be labeled a hypocrite. So, all of them really need to get a grip, but especially Mr. David Bowie, I mean, look, you can have all the followers in the world, you can have millions of followers. I mean, look, Balin, he had millions of followers, okay? He was very popular as a YouTuber. I think he quit recently. But look, he had so much fame, followers, but he sold his soul to the devil, for his cursing, his profanity, his strange, weird antics. So, what good is all, the fame, money, and everything if you can't live, in the way that you're expected to as a Christian? It's no good, it's all a sham. And also, it's not really giving a good message because then people are going to think, oh, well, I could just be a Christian and behave how I like. And, they have this philosophy that, once I'm saved, then everything's okay, because I just believe. And, I mean, this is the most I suppose, bizarre and shocking thing about their religion, and scary, I suppose, to an extent, because according to them, I think it's orthodox, but they just believe you can just be saved, and even if you willingly or unwillingly still sin, you'll be saved anyway, because you believe in Jesus. So a lot of them like to use this as an excuse to willfully sin. And even though a lot of them say, oh, but, I've repented. But does the repentance show? Because in a lot of these cases, no, it doesn't. Where's the evidence? The repentance is showing and genuine. Surely, they would be giving up these bad habits, which, it doesn't show in most of them. And if it does, it means, yes, God is working through them. But, if it doesn't, it means their repentance is very dicey. It's probably not either serious enough or they're lying about it altogether. One of the two. You can't have it both ways. You can't claim, well, I'm repenting and then a few days later, but I've gone back to the sin. Like Mr. Anderson, apparently he was 6 years or so nearly free from cussing. And then suddenly, he tells me, well, the main thing is I'm repenting. But, how on earth did you fall back if you were repenting before you got saved? And even after you got saved, it's not making much sense, is it? Anyway, I don't want to focus too much on him because at the moment I've just, done one on Mr. David and Mr. Cameron on Instagram, who is supposed to be a follower of Naylor and this stupid swearpire group which they came up with. But, it doesn't really bother me too much because, evil can never win. Goodness and karma, always find a way to win in the end. And, and they will soon find out, that their evil ways will come to an end and they will be punished by, God, who is watching everything they do. So definitely, you see, I don't want to really get into too much of a roast with Cameron. All I can say is that he's a betrayal, Judas, and if he's claiming to be a Christian or Jew, then certainly he will, see what happens, that he's been, exposed, and hopefully by other people too. Okay, well, I hope that was a good lecture, and all of you who, want to support me, do look at these videos and expose and comment on Mr. David Bowe, because this is the second time, that this has happened. As I said, he really needs to get a grip and maybe stop doing these videos. But, one way or the other, God is gonna, punish him, even maybe not now, maybe 10, 15 years later, in whatever way. But, as they say, God listens and he hears every word you've spoken. So in the afterlife, it's going to be very, very heavy punishment. Okay, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.